I think it's no surprise that I love Bloodborne a lot. So for the sake of brevity, I'm only going to touch on a few likes and dislikes, then touch on some caveats and my final verdict. So what does it do right? Bloodborne's level design is based on the Hunter's Dream and Lanterns, a very similar design to Demon's Souls. Because of this, multiple shortcuts are implemented for easy traversal through Yharnam. Considering these lanterns as a checkpoint, they create an incentive to explore the dangerous levels. The lanterns are spaced out perfectly since they are typically by a boss room or a set-piece transition. Instead of worlds like the Valley of Defilement or Boletaria, you have one large adventure that starts in the city of Yharnam. I initially thought this was going to make the world bland. However, Bloodborne was varied enough in environments to keep me interested. Considering the other Souls games, The Hunt and the Beast Plague, I thought were the most deceptively straightforward prompts Fromsoft has made. As Fromsoft does, as you play through the game, you learn bits and pieces of the world around you and what's happening. And without really saying much of what's happening in Bloodborne, my experience is somewhere above Demon's Souls and below Dark Souls 1's lore. I want to make a slight distinction before talking about combat. This is not a Souls game. The main components that make Bloodborne different are the transforming weapons, rally, and backstabbing. Transforming or trick weapons are used by all hunters that have two forms. For example, the Kirk hammer is a longsword and a large hammer. The purpose of this design choice was to control spacing between your opponents. Between all weapons, this is the case to some degree. Rally is the risk versus reward mechanic that allows the player to gain health that they have lost from a previous attack. Like in most video games, you get hit and you lose health, but in Bloodborne, you can quickly deal damage to get a portion of that health back. And backstabbing is virtually gone. It isn't completely gone in Bloodborne, but the difference is that you have to charge your attack before backstabbing. This is to avoid the Dark Souls strafing and fishing for a backstab that you would do in most situations, thus offering a more visceral, frontal, aggressive style in combat. What it does wrong? Fromsoft seems to enjoy 30 frames. There could be a few reasons. One being pushing the limits of the PS4 with graphics and level size, or simply lazy frame data programming. The design of these dungeons feel tacked on. This is due to the enemy placement and behavior, which I found to contrast with Yharnam's design philosophy. That is, the difference in trying to purposely kill the player versus traversing a hostile world. These dungeons aren't necessarily bad either, it's just that they are more limited than the world of Yharnam. Another tacked on feature I found to be covenants, or in-game oaths. Oaths seem to be the most tertiary thing within Bloodborne. They are received too late within game, and they are virtually just a buff or a simple title. Anyway, on to some general notes that have changed since the initial release of Bloodborne. Initially, loading times were 30 to over 60 seconds long. Now that there's been an optimization patch, that has been cut in half, virtually being 10 to 30 seconds. There's also been some rebalancing to PvP and PvE. I can really only speak on the latter and say that New Game Plus, as an example, seems to be more forgiving. Compared to previous Souls titles, Bloodborne offers the least customization, so those who really liked their Pyro, Sorcerer, or Cleric, they're not going to get them in Bloodborne. Bloodborne also features DLC, which has been released in the Complete Edition for only $50, and the standalone being around $20. It is very much a tertiary DLC, much like Artorias of the Abyss. It itself, as a mini review, is very good, and I highly recommend it to anyone who is about to be playing Bloodborne. So my verdict. If it wasn't obvious already, I love Bloodborne. The aesthetics, the setting, the lore, bosses, weapons, level design, music, everything. I even 100% completed it, and I don't normally do that with video games. On top of that, it being one of the few exclusives on PS4, I believe Bloodborne to be the best. Now, considering someone who doesn't have a PS4 and wants an exclusive for that system, is Bloodborne worth putting down $450? I think so. But I think for the average consumer or player, it'll be hit and miss. I know Bloodborne isn't for everybody, and even Fromsoft fans might be split on it, based on the contrasting design from Dark and Demon Souls. So with all that said, I personally give Bloodborne 11 Eldritch umbilical cords out of 10, and my general rating of play it